So now I will commence video number 7. This video will cover the Asian part of Istanbul, most particularly Kadikoy. Um, Also, if you want to do a trip to Beylerbeyi Palace as well, um, this will essentially cover those areas. Um, Before I start, there are two things which I want to mention. One is that due to the conflict in Syria, there was a period in time where there were a lot of Syrian refugees in Istanbul, most specifically around 2018. Uh, and with, unfortunately, a lot of the Syrian refugees there came a lot of beggars as well. Um, my Pakistani viewers are very, of course, familiar with beggars in Pakistan. Mostly they're part of begging mafias. So a lot of the begging from the Syrian refugees were also kind of consisted of begging mafias as well, um, and fairly aggressive beggars, I must say. The good thing is that when I went in 2019, the government began a process of moving a lot of the Syrian refugees out of Istanbul to a fairly large extent, so they're not visible on the streets. But from my understanding, there are still some there who kind of emerge in the middle of the night. I mean, it's very sad. They're probably looking for scraps to eat or anything to kind of sustain themselves. So the amount of Syrian refugees are not as visible, are not as many, at least last year in 2019, as there has been previously since the Syria war in Syria began in 2011. The other thing which a lot of people go to Istanbul for is to have a Turkish bath. Um, there are many hotels which have quote unquote historical Turkish baths there. Um, they mention that or other old historical baths. They mention they give you the authentic experience, etc., etc. I've never personally have taken a Turkish bath before, or have had a Turkish bath. I heard it's a very extraordinary experience. Um, there are many different locations which you can have it. Some hotels, like I mentioned just now, do offer the quote unquote authentic quote unquote experience. The one place I know of which does give a very good experience is a place where my ex-wife went to when we traveled to Istanbul in 2018, which is called the Ayasofya Sophia Hurrem Sultan Hammam. It's located in between, it's in Sultanahmet, located right in between the Blue Mosque and the Ayasofya Sophia. Apparently recently renovated the past couple of years. Uh, my ex-wife spoke very highly of it. She had to, because we went in the summer, she booked ahead of time, but she spoke very highly of it and the experience. She really enjoyed the experience there. So I would recommend the Ayasofya Sophia Hurrem Sultan Hammam if you want to get a Turkish bath there. Now for the Asian side of Istanbul, this is completely an optional part of an itinerary if you plan to spend like a week in the city. There aren't many historical sites to see on the Asian side. The only historical site is Beylerbeyi Palace. In my previous video, I'd mentioned that towards the end of the Ottoman Empire, after the building completion of Dolmabahce Palace, two other smaller palaces were built along the same kind of modern lines, so to speak. One was Chiron Palace, other one was Beylerbeyi Palace. Beylerbeyi Palace is reachable through Üsküdar. So you essentially would go take the tram to Eminönü, and from Eminönü you would take the ferry to Üsküdar. From Üsküdar to Beylerbeyi Palace, you're unfortunately going to have to either end up taking a taxi. I think a bus also goes to. There's no mass transit. It's a smaller palace. As I mentioned earlier, the really only really claim to fame of Beylerbeyi Palace, only really historic event which occurred there, is that the final Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, Sultan Mehmet IV Vahiduddin, uh, was forced to sign the armistice, which ended World War One for the Ottoman Empire by the British, and essentially he was kind of forced to surrender with British battleships in the Bosphorus Straits to help intimidate him. So that was really the only historical event which occurred there. Um, it's worth. I mean, it's worth a visit if you want to really visit the Asian side and visit it. You have good views of the city from there, good views of the Bosphorus Bridge uh, from Beylerbeyi Palace. The main part of the Asian side, which you, if you have the time and you want to visit there, is the neighborhood of Kadikoy. Kadikoy is a very wealthy part of the city. Um, uh, it's a place with a lot of restaurants and shops. There, Kadikoy is also the location of Shukru Saracoğlu Stadium, which is the home of the one of the big three Turkish football teams, Fenerbahce, is located in Kadikoy. There's nothing historical to see in the area other than it's a nice place to stroll along the main avenue there, which is called Baghdad Caddesi. Baghdad Caddesi, along it you have shops, restaurants, cafes. It's a nice place to. The Asian side is a nice place to visit because it's not touristy, so you get to see how real Istanbul residents live. So from that point of view, it's fairly interesting to visit, and it's worth a day trip, or half a day trip if you have the time to go and visit there. There are two main ways to get to Kadikoy. One, once again, is via the ferry, which is the most picturesque way of going to Kadikoy. Once again, you would take the tram, or if you want to walk, to the Aminoinu ferry docks and take the ferry from Aminoinu to Kadikoy. That's one option. The other option is to take the Mamray, is to take the tram or to walk to the Sirkeci station and take the Marmaray from Sirkeci to there are several stops in Kadikoy. You can look on Google Maps of the various stops in Kadikoy. Take it off as Kadikoy is also along the part of the Bosphorus Straits and the Sea of Marmara. So you have very nice views there, and you can very nice walk along these areas. I believe there are parks there as well, from what I recall when I visited that area in 2012. Sorry, not 2012, 2013. So a fairly nice area to visit. I recommend it if you do have time to go there, so you can see how non-tourist Istanbul is. Kadikoy also very nice restaurants there. So in culinary back streets, they will give you a lot of good suggestions for places to eat there. That's it for this video. My next video will talk about the Bosphorus Straits boat tour, which is a must-do on your visit to Istanbul. So until then, thank you.